You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the July 26, 2022 meeting of the LaPorte County Plan Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
We'll open the meeting for the LaPorte County Plan Commission on July 26th at 6 o'clock. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Turn off any cell phones. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm looking for my agenda. Oh. Here we go.
Okay.
Looking for my agenda. Roll call, please.
Tony Hendricks.
Here.
Adam Karanka.
Here.
Rita Beatty.
Here.
John Carr.
Here.
Harold Parker.
Here.
Errol Cunningham.
Here.
Glenn Minnick.
Here.
Rich Merzinski.
Here.
Azad Shahal.
Legal counsel, since we are in the meetings of state of Indiana, what are our rules about voting in members? Here, present, or on Zoom?
Do roll call.
I'm trying to remember. I don't think we entered an ordinance for I think it's going to be present members only.
Present members are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 people. So there's 9 members on this commission. That means you have to have a majority of 9. So there has to be 5 members one way or the other. And this is just a recommending body. So going forward, you have to have 5 members. The 2 members on Zoom are not present. So there has to be 5 of the 6.
I believe as long as they vote by roll call and not by voice vote, it counts.
But I don't. We just had this issue come up, and we didn't pass a resolution to authorize it.
In the last meeting, it didn't count. Brzezinski voted by Zoom.
Zoom should be a roll call. That's how we've done other public meetings.
We're just asking because it has changed like in a month.
Yeah, okay.
The rules keep changing on this
Thank you.
remote voting deal.
But from what I understand, as long as somebody's on Zoom, then you got to do a roll call vote. But their vote does count.
What if we passed a resolution authorizing?
I thought that was.
My understanding, a few months ago, they changed the rules, and we had to pass a resolution, but we didn't have a meeting. I mean, it doesn't hurt. There's no harm in them voting one way or another because we have a quorum here.
We're going to a moment because I believe Commissioner Brzezinski might be able to answer that because that would be the commissioners passing the resolutions for boards.
The way I understand it is each board passes its own rule.
Okay, thank you.
Recording in progress.
Do we have all our members back on Zoom? There we go, Rich. You're back on, Rich.
Oh no. Now we have him, but we can't hear
We're
him.
working on your
Oh, there we go. If I just push the right button. Tony, I don't know if you were aware of what, I just caught the end of what you were saying. The county commissioners adopted an ordinance that was designed and drafted by the governor that about Zoom meetings. You are allowed to Zoom 2 meetings in a row. That's all. So the people who are on Zoom certainly have the right to vote.
Thank you. Thank you. We're hoping you clear that up for us. In the strange world of the coronavirus and Zoom, we had to bring that up. So we'll do approval of the agenda. Is there approval of the agenda as presented?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Any changes, additions, corrections, deletions? Hearing none. Is there approval of the minutes?
So moved. Second.
A motion to approve the minutes as presented. Any additions, corrections, changes, deletions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We did roll call.
Roll call vote, you're supposed to vote.
Oh. Well, we have 5 members to approve it, so we'll do roll call. Yeah, remind me when we get to that. Item number 1, petitioner Sloan Avenue Land Opportunities LLC represents Todd Leith and Katie Hoppner, Wagner, and Evans. Petitions the Plan Commission to zone from A and R1B to R1A, property located on the south side of State Road 2, north 350 east, north 450 east, Roland Prairie. Floor is yours. Oh, wait.
Notice adequate.
Notice is sufficient. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Todd Leith, for the record, and I'm here on behalf of the petition in this matter, Sloan Avenue Land Opportunities. And the request is, as we discussed in your workshop, to rezone a 166-acre parcel of land on the south side of Highway 2, northeast of the city of LaPorte, from its agricultural zoning classification to the R1A classification. As we discussed at the workshop, a part of that 166 acres that is the subject of the petition tonight is not agricultural, it's R1B. And it's a small portion, but nonetheless it would support, we think, a small subdivision. But that's not good planning in our part, in our thinking. We would like to have the entire development master planned under one subdivision plat, and that's the reason for our request tonight. As you know, we received a favorable recommendation from you for the R1B zoning classification in February. In March, the Board of Commissioners turned that down. And so the reason for that was density, basically. And so we're now back to you with a R1A zoning classification. R1A has 15,000 square foot minimum lot sizes. That's 50% larger than the R1B. And our concept plan, which I understand that you have seen, calls for 237 lots. We haven't engineered that, but an engineer prepared that concept plan. And so what does the engineer do when he prepares a concept plan? He looks at the certainly the dimensions of the property. He looks at the environmental features of the property, and he looks at the topography of the property and knows where the water is going to flow. He's not going to put a detention pond in the northeast if that's the high spot. He's going to locate it where the low spots are, because it's easier to move the water around when he's asked to take that concept plan and turn it into a primary plat engineered so that the water moves efficiently. The detention ponds, when it's a primary plat, are sized appropriately to manage all of the stormwater from the rooftops, from the driveways, from the sidewalks, throughout the entire development. We're not there yet. This is a zoning request, and we're asking for a 30,000-foot view as to what the highest and best use of this property is. It's densely wooded. To my knowledge, it's never been farmed. There was a suggestion at the earlier meetings that timber is in fact a renewable crop, and I don't disagree. But that's not what the farming community does in the adjacent areas, and this property, and certainly the current owner, is not in the business of timber farming. The ordinance that we're seeking does have for those larger lot sizes, and it's a game changer in my opinion because of the proximity of the sanitary sewer. That we talked about that during the workshop. We now have the availability of sanitary sewer to this property. What that does is it creates the availability to have the R1A zoning classification and have lots that are 15,000 square feet and not the acre plus that would be required to accommodate a septic system. But I suggest to you that even if we had septic systems, I don't believe that the community would be accepting of a development that would still be required to take down trees, to build the roads, to build the detention ponds, and to build the homes, even if this were a residential septic system development. I believe that density is a good thing in the areas that it's appropriate, and sanitary sewer makes that the case here. Because we don't create, my client doesn't create the need for 237 home buyers. The scenario where build it and they will come isn't true. Buyers don't come because we build subdivisions. Buyers come because they're looking for a home. They're looking to upgrade, they're looking to move, they're looking for a home. And simply because Ford Motor Company builds a car, or simply because my client builds a house, doesn't mean there's a buyer. The marketplace dictates that. So we're going to have a long period of absorption or sales for these 237 homes, maybe 10 years, maybe more. And if we reach that capacity, then the marketplace is going to want 237 more homes in 10 years or in 5 years or in 15 years. And where do we go? We go to the next farm. If I can put more homes on a limited number of acres, then I think that's good for the farming community, because the farms and the farm lifestyle are protected, because we've created the density where the utilities are and where it's appropriate to have that. We're in an area that's in transition. These sewers are new. So we've got that conflict between the expanding planned urban expansion areas and what was industrial, agricultural uses in the past and currently, admittedly. So I used the term planned urban expansion areas. That comes from your comprehensive plan. Mr. Bishop commented on that. This is a very important document that the state law requires you to pay reasonable regard to when you consider petitions such as this, zone map amendments or rezonings. And it talks about first and foremost, the availability of public utilities. And that's why the sanitary sewer is a game changer in my mind. There is a letter from the LaPorte Utilities talking about the ability and capacity of the line to service this development. That letter is directed to Mr. Bishop, and I'll make it a part of the record. But there's certainly, as was indicated, a need for flow in that line, far more than we would be over serving that. So the letter indicates that there's certainly capacity in the line for 237 homes. We seek your favorable recommendation to the Board of Commissioners to rezone the property to the R1A classification. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board for the petitioner? Hearing none, we'll open the floor for any remonstrators for or against the petition. Now, we just had a workshop, so we welcome, and we heard for an hour, and just be as succinct as you can, name and address, and for the record.
All right, Mike Ekovich, co-owner of Echo Acres Dairy Farm, 1752 North, 350 East. We just built pretty much a whole new dairy farm in 2020. Within a mile of this, like Glenn Minnick said, you're 3,500 head, and plans to expand in the future. So the most modern and largest dairy farms in the county. I'm here for the future generation. The next generation of Ekoviches, there's 14, soon to be 15. If you've been to the county fair, seen the open show, they all show cattle. So obviously, heavy interest in dairy farming. Rich Brzezinski said, smell of common ore is money. Currently, a lot of people are connected to farming, particularly dairy farming. In the past, they've milked cows, baled hay. As we move on, people are further connected to farming. So we're going to have more complaints, more pushback. It's going to be harder for the future generations to farm, dairy farm especially. It's not a clean, beautiful thing. There's manure. We do our best we can. We have wonderful neighbors in Sand Ridge, Mulligan's Meadow, down all the road to 350 East. Minimal complaints. us. They accept who we are, what we do. If you're gonna bring this many homes into the community, the chance of them being connected to dairy farming and not giving us issues, I feel is very slim. Another thing Rich said is, the building in the county, possible Union. Union doesn't do residential. It's overpriced. So we're not going to see that. I've got a concrete business, Akovich Concrete, been in business since 2006 with my brother. Currently his son's added on to the business. All the homes in Sand Ridge and Mulligan's Meadow, we've done 2 basements in Mulligan's Meadow, none in Sand Ridge. Most of the contractors come from South Bend, so St. Joe County, Porter County, Lake County. They have cheaper immigrant help. We can't compete with them. So saying the contractors are from the county, I would say probably 50% of them will be. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other remonstrators for the petition for the record?
Good evening. My name is Jim Miller. I'm from 3934 East, 350 North. I have a couple questions. It's been brought up during the first meeting earlier about the sewer system. And that was kind of explained. What about water? That keeps being brought up. What are we going to do about that?
I'm sure they're wells, but we'll ask them. Any
Because I know I have 2 wells on my property and they're both over 100 feet deep. So you're talking about a lot of wells going in if you're going to have 237 residents. Secondly, in March, I guess where I'm confused, it was denied by the commissioners. Why are they, and they were not supposed to come back for a year. Why are they able to come back now?
We'll have our legal counsel answer that.
They're asking for something different now. The first request was for a more populated area. Okay, so
Okay.
they'd have to wait the year if they're gonna ask for the same thing over
Okay,
again.
so there was just a little loophole in there somewhere.
Well,
Okay. I guess that's about all I have to say right now. I know I don't, part of that property borders 2 sides of mine. I'm not looking forward to it. I know that, so.
All right, we'll have
Thank
them
you.
answer your question. Thank you. Any other demonstrators for or against the petition?
this is his 4th time.
My name's Luke Smith, 3974 East 350 North, Rolling Prairie. I prepared this ahead of time, so I apologize if some of it seems redundant. After going through this procedure previously, I've had to educate myself on the processes and procedures set forth by the county and the state. First, I'd like to bring to your attention that the previous hearing I was notified of the Sloan Avenue, but this time I was not. I'm aware of the notice of requirements of public hearings set forth by the state and the Plan Commission. Outlined in Article 27 Plan Commission, Section 2708 Public Hearings, Part B states, the petitioner shall prepare the legal advertisement of the public hearings for approval by the Plan Commission and shall bear the expenses of the advertisement costs. In addition, the petitioner will notify all persons deemed by the state statute, which they did, and the Plan Commission to be interested parties at least 10 days before the date of the public hearing. Outlined in Section 2709, Notice Requirements for Public Hearing, Part D states, for the purpose of this subchapter, the notice requirements contained in the previous sections are the bare minimum necessary for the presentation of the petition of any matter to be heard in front of the Plan Commission. This is where I'm disappointed in the bare minimum set forth by our representatives. The petition requested by Sloan Avenue does and will affect everyone in the Rolling Prairie community, from the volunteer fire department, the elementary school, etc. Therefore, the elected officials that their powers were lent from the people here in this room and all of Rolling Prairie, the affected parties should include everyone in the Rolling Prairie community, not just the adjacent properties. I strongly urge this change to be made not only for this situation, but for all situations and future ones. Unlike the Planning Commission and unlike Sloan Avenue, I've spoke with dozens of Rolling Prairie members of the community. Unanimously, the consensus is against putting up a subdivision the size of our community. Outlined in the ordinance articles, Article 30, Amendments and Rezoning, Section 3005, Decision Criteria states, in reviewing the rezoning application, the Plan Commission shall pay reasonable regard to all of the following, which he explained earlier. Land County Development Plan, current conditions, desirable use, property values, readable growth, environmental conditions, spot zoning, and neighborhood plan. Several of these criteria requirements are in question. It does say all, not just some. Desirable use. The desirable use of the land has been classified since the 50s. This property has been home to wildlife and trees that the community has benefited for a long time. Desirable use from the county is more tax base. Desirable use from the investors is something they can make money on. Desirable use from the community is keeping the wildlife preservation. E, reasonable growth. Rolling Prairie's first settlement was built in 1831 and has grown to 562 people in the 2020 U.S. Census. This proposed subdivision is 237 homes and has the potential to double or triple the size of the community in 10 years, according to their business plan. This type of rapid growth is not acceptable to the members of this community. F, environmental conditions. The first chance they got was to take the forest out of classified forest. After speaking with our District 19 forester, James Pothoff, Sloan Avenue did not request them to survey the property for any endangered protected wildlife. This is another example of how the interest of the community is not in mind, but the interest of financial gain is more important. In closing, it is clear to me and everyone I spoke with that the interest has not been in the people of Rolling Prairie community, but the interest of the county, the parties that stand to make a lot of money. The property owners, which is listed in Chesterton and Chicago, the law firm which is listed in Valparaiso, the developer which is listed in Chicago, and the engineering surveyor which is listed in Chesterton, all stand to make a lot of money at the backs of the Rolling Prairie community. In this, I oppose the petition for the rezoning of the proposed properties from ag to residential. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other petitioners for or against the petition? Remonstrators? For the record.
Richard Stratner, 2367 North 350 East. I just want to go on record that I'm completely against this for the things we put out there for in the workshop. Mainly, we have way too many children to go to one school now. We can't afford another 300 plus. We don't have any need in our farming community to have more people. It's dangerous enough. We have tractors, we have heavy equipment, we have machinery, we have things that we don't need a densely populated thing in our farm fields. Keep the densely populated things closer to town. We have plenty of open spots, there's plenty of open fields, there's plenty of open things in subdivisions right now that are not being built. Please don't make another eyesore where they're just going to put roads down and, well, we got one house built and it sits there. We have them in Kingsbury already. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Taylor, 2191 North 350 East. As I mentioned earlier, the utilities in this area are crap. What is the county going to do to fix these utilities before they add 237 more homes? Our electricity and our cable goes out at least once a week. This needs to be fixed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other petitioners for or against, remonstrators for or against the petition?
Hello, Jennifer Wright, 3139 North Fairway Avenue. It was mentioned earlier by the attorney that the developers are doing this for the people of Rolling Prairie. That was an outright lie. This isn't for the people of Rolling Prairie. There's plenty of lots available if people in Rolling Prairie want to build a nice home right across the street in Sand Ridge. Scipio, I think, is in LaPorte, but it's not far. This is for the attorney and his developer to make a ton of money at the expense of the people who have already invested in your community. And it's going to bring in people from and residents from out of state. You can check out Wagner Estates, which is off of Fayal. That'll show you that people in the surrounding area aren't looking to build homes as much as the people in Illinois wanting to come here. So I just wanted to make sure that I caveated that falseness that was stated earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. Any remonstrators for or against petition? The open call for remonstrators for or against this petition.
Jim Proberg, 4701 East 300 North, Rolling Prairie, Indiana. And I've been here before, been to all the commissioners' meetings. And so a lot of this might seem repetitious to myself. It does for sure, and maybe to you too. So we farm. I'm all across the southern border of the whole subdivision. I own all that, and partly up the east side, all that property. We deal with the public all the time in agriculture, and many of you know that, and I've stated that before. And I don't know if you listen to the commissioners' meetings, but talked about the heavy industrialized farming that we do and all the equipment that is going in and out of the fields, and in the fields themselves. Things happen, and you're going to put a dense population. Let's be clear. It's going to be a lot of people in a small area. I quickly just kind of circled Rolling Prairie and just saw how many acres were involved in Rolling Prairie, and then what this acreage was. And Rolling Prairie itself, as a town, has more acreage available around the town per home, per household. And so this is going to be denser than Rolling Prairie. So let's be clear about that. This is not just a subdivision. You're going to decide on putting in a city, and all that entails, post office, all the things that involved in a city. This is not a subdivision. Mr. Mrzinski, Commissioner Mrzinski, had opposed just saying this lot size, previously said this lot size is, it's like a trailer park. Well, we went from a trailer park to a double wide. They're still very small lots, and I get it. People don't all want large yards. I get that. I understand. People want to live in the country, but I think most of the people in here already knew that was agriculture, and that woods was agriculture, and so they knew, and they were trying, and they bought and invested already. Okay. Rolling Prairie, the whole sewer line. Mitch had shared earlier in the meeting that this is part of the development plan. Well, no, it's part of the bailout plan of Rolling Prairie that didn't have proper septic systems, and LaPorte sewer had capacity, and it was a bailout plan. It was not a development plan. It was a bailout plan. Well, they're coming to you for a bailout plan. They bought this property knowing it was zoned agriculture. It's a bailout plan. How many more bailout plans can we afford? That's what it is. It was zoned agriculture, and that's what everyone that bought around there bought and had already invested. And so now you're picking a winner and a loser. Everybody already here and voting members of this county, you're picking who's going to win and lose in this one. There's other places it makes more sense to be right around all the utilities, around our cities. Let's develop those first. Let's not encroach into the agriculture, the highly industrial land. Let's not encroach on them until maybe you have to, right? Maybe there was no other option at that point. But let that be the last option of taking that. When we have industrial parks that are not being utilized. Why don't we zone that residential? You would never think of it because of the dangers presented to the children. Let's think about all the people that you don't see, that can't vote, that you're endangering, putting them in a highly dense area. And, it's not bad parenting, it's not bad children if they end up in a farm field.
they're exploring, you know. And what we do, we have lots of traffic, and I can go through all those. You could see from Paulberg Farms, YouTube or whatever. You can see the dangers that poses. Lord help me. Lord help me when that child or something happens and you're going to put a city right next to me. You know, we invested good money at the time into that farmland ourselves. We had to pay market price, you know, and we didn't ask you to bail us out. You know, we're paying taxes, and so it just seems crazy to me why you want to develop and make your plan to grow from the cities on out and not from the agriculture on in. Highest and best use was just quote, you know, the attorney just said that, you know, they're looking at the highest and best use. Well, that depends on which side of the fence you're on. It depends on who, you know, what view you have. We all want to tell our story. I'm trying to tell mine. We're all trying to, you know, we all have a story to tell. You're going to have to pick a side on going forward and pick it for generations. We're a generational family. My dad and uncle moved to La Crosse, Indiana in 1972, had opportunity to buy farmland in Rolling Prairie and diversify our agriculture land, and we have grown since then. I now have sons in the business that are working full-time as farmers and are also investing in LaPorte County for themselves. I just ask and plead with you to keep it agriculture. We don't need another bailout, and just save our farms. You have a chance, you know, we want to talk green and everything. That woods has lots of value. It might not just be to someone's wallet, but it has lots of value to the community. So appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Any other remonstrators for or against the petition?
I'm Ryan Perlberg from 4606 East, 300 North. I am completely against. Obviously, I am the next generation, and I'm raising a generation. And the biggest fear for me as a farmer is tragedy. I have 3 little girls, and recently, just in Elkhart County, on July 4th, a 2-year-old went missing in a cornfield. This, bringing all these households in, is putting me at risk of hurting or injuring someone, and I am so afraid of that, even for my own children. I go over and over farm safety, but accidents happen, and bringing this many people into the community is just putting us at risk. It's putting me personally at risk of the potential of something happening. And most people outside of the community doesn't know corn has 1 ear on it. I mean, they just don't know. They don't know the dangers. And I've been blessed to get to operate a combine. When you're picking corn, you can't see but 15 foot in front of you. It's dangerous. People get killed each year. And this is just bringing more potential for someone to get hurt. I don't want to see that. And I love this community. I live in this community. I want more people to enjoy it, but responsibly, and know what they're getting themselves into. So I'm against. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for or against the petition?
Jennifer Scanlon, 3182 North Fairway Avenue. I just want to put out there that I recently moved into Mulligan Meadows with the understanding that that was all protected behind me, and it was one of the alluring points of moving there, and the wildlife matters to me. I also think some of us are forgetting that the farmers are the ones that put food on our tables, and they're overworked and underpaid, and I think that you have to remember that because it's important, and what's best for them is also best for us. I've been an educator in the school system for 20 years. Several of my kids are ag kids. It's a big thing out here. It's something I love about living here. And they would be very saddened to know that we're going to parcel it out and make it into a subdivision rather than keep it and protect it for the farmers and what's best for farming. I mean, this community, to me, is a farming community, not a small city. So I just want to be on the record as being against this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Stratner, 2367 North 350 East. I've lived in Rolling Prairie for 12 years. Like I said, I am second generation. We have a little one and one on the way, and so I just want to go thinking of my family going forward and on record stating that I am against this rezoning.
Thank you. Any other remonstrators for or against the petition? Any remonstrators on the Zoom? We have one. Yes, sir.
Jerry Rogers, 2443 North 350 East. As I stated in the first meeting, I'm concerned about safety, being from, I was on the fire department for many years. And my question is then, down the road, you're asking school buses to cross 4 lanes of a highway to get to the school in Rolling. You need to think of the future. I mean, yes, this is a long process, but like I said, you need to do your homework before you say yes to something. What's the state going to do? Highway 2 is a limited access highway, so, you just need to think of the kids.
Thank you. Any other remonstrators for or against the petition?
My name's Tony Albertson, 3992 East 350 North. We've been here before, and every time you guys kicked the can down the road, and then it went to the commissioners, so it gave them a little hope. So they said, well, let's try again. And some of the plans are pretty vague, which maybe it's on purpose, maybe it's not. I don't really know. But I do know it was agriculture first before it was residential. If it's residential, all this community right here that showed up on short notice. A lot of people weren't even given proper notice about this, but on short notice, you can see all the folks that gathered here to show what we want in our community. Agriculture first. It was agriculture, not residential. It was residential. They got the right to do that. Agriculture. 750,000 acres in the last 15 years Indiana's lost. It's gone. There's a lot of movements to preserve beaches and fields and woodlands and forests. It wouldn't be any different if we come to LaPorte and I won the lottery and I said, hey, let's put a landfill here. We need new garbage service. The people would be in an uproar. This land, even though it's private access, people enjoy looking at it just like somebody does driving by the beach or open fields or something. It was agriculture first. But these guys, there's tremendous pressure, as other people said, on farmers. They produce more per acre. It's amazing over the last 30 years what they do. And it can't be applauded enough, but with all the food shortages and the pressure, and I know you guys have a difficult position. The investors or the community, we vote. We're voting. We want you to represent our views, and we have a strong outpouring of people here to tell you we're not in favor of this. It's not the growth. But as everybody sounds like a broken record, put it where it needs to be. This is zoned agriculture. It's a large chunk of forest. You're not going to get that back. And the trees, taking out the trees and leaving trees, I've walked that woods plenty of times. The cherry, and very few oaks and maples, they're shallow-rooted trees. You start going in, digging up basements, you're not going to save many of them trees. Right now, it's a big wind buffer. You start taking them out, they're going to fall over. You're not going to save many. I'm opposed. Please vote accordingly. Thank you.
Serious now.
Good evening, Chad Beatles, 3052 North, 450 East in Rolling Prairie. Many years ago, I had the opportunity to work for one of the largest agricultural supply companies in LaPorte County, and as a custom applicator in several thousand acres worth of fields. I can attest to the children coming out of these houses from neighborhoods, we used to call them pop-up houses. Your 2-acre parcels along the road frontage. People coming from the cities, their children coming out, and literally standing feet from the side of the field as as myself and my colleagues were running massive application equipment along the fields to try and help the farmers out. I can't begin to tell you how many times I came within this much of having an issue where it could have been a detrimental result. So I believe that if you begin to allow this subdivision to take shape around this agricultural land, you will see problems, you will see accidents, because of course children are children. They're curious. And I pray that we don't see a tragedy. But if you allow this development to happen, the chances of these tragedies expand exponentially. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other remonstrators for or against the petition? Any Zoom members? Any comments from the Plan Commission? Mr. Rodriguez.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. Very quickly, I'd like to point out a piece of information I believe that's very relevant to this evening's discussion and to both sides of this entire presentation and argument. In approximately August of 2021, the results came in of a study which was executed by a very diverse and broad coalition of all of the communities, both large and small, throughout LaPorte County. The Unity Foundation, the LaPorte County Association of Realtors, both the City of Michigan City, City of LaPorte, La Crosse, Hanna, Westville, Fish Lake, Wanata. And as a result of this coalition, the objective was to try to identify exactly where LaPorte County is at in its single-family housing and overall housing demand. The results of that study are posted online, still today accessible, and is something we're paying very close attention to. I wanted to bring this to the board's attention, and basically boils down to one important number that I believe is relevant this evening, and that is the study found that as we sit today, we are approximately 4,300 housing units short of what our market needs to sustain the activity of supporting the manufacturers that are currently located in LaPorte County, that are adding jobs to their very important payrolls, and then these people that are taking these new positions and being able to have a reasonable commute to their employer. So I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention. It is also available online if you just under the search bar entered housing market study, it'll pop right up.
For the record, for the people that don't know who you are.
My apologies. Tony Rodriguez, Director of Community and Economic Development for LaPorte County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the Plan Commission? Any discussion from the Plan Commission? Any on the Zoom? Plan Commission? Final comments from the petitioner?
Thank you very much. I want to address some of the comments that were made and concerns, answer any questions perhaps. We've talked a long time this evening, both at the hearing and at the workshop, about the conflict, perceived or real, between single-family homes and the agricultural uses surrounding. What I wanted to talk about was some of the things and questions that really came up. We'll never come to a consensus tonight that single-family homes and agricultural uses are compatible or they're not compatible. What I can do is talk about some of the facts. The sewer system is there. I believe that that's a game changer. I believe that it protects the future of the farming community because, as I indicated, I believe higher density creates and preserves farmland longer. We don't create the need for homes, the market does. And whether we build this subdivision or somebody comes along in 15 years and needs to build another subdivision, that's going to be dependent upon the marketplace and not whether or not we have a 237 lot subdivision in 2022 as we go through the process 2024 more likely. The sanitary sewer system is there. The potable or drinking water is not, so there'll be individual wells on the homes, on the lots. That was one of the questions. With regard to the issue of notice, I'm not sure. I have the notice list. I'd be happy to refer to that. But I can tell you that under state law, that if that gentleman was missed, but he knew about the hearing and appeared at the hearing, that corrects any failure to give notice to that individual. Certainly was not intended to do that. We take great pride in making sure that our notice lists are accurate. It's not a classified forest today. There's been discussion about the fact that it was and how long it's been that way. It's been zoned agricultural for a long time too. But the reason why the state process has the ability for us to come and ask you to change your zoning map is so that you can take our request, look at the requirements of the state law and your zoning ordinance, and see if there are changed circumstances that dictate a change in the zoning map. And we talked about that. Mr. Bishop mentioned that, all of those things that are there. But I keep coming back to the fact that the sanitary sewer is the real game changer there. Your own comprehensive plan talks about this area being in a planned urban expansion area. And when you read down to zoning, it talks about areas tied to public utility services. That's the game changer. There was a suggestion that density should be closer to towns, and I would suggest to you that that's what this is. This is on a state highway. It's on a sanitary sewer. Those things make, in my opinion, the rezoning request, the change of the map, most appropriate. I was called out for saying that we were doing this for Rolling Prairie. I don't believe that that's what my words were. Certainly was not my intention. My client is here tonight and he's an investor. He's doing it for the money. Nobody's trying to sugarcoat that or change that. But what we have to do is follow the codes that you've been told about, the community's been told about. We have to follow all of those rules. And an investor has to take and follow those rules in order to create 237 homes. Those 237 homes are going to be LaPorte County residents. That was my intent and statement. That's what I mean. So when this development is complete, if we're allowed to proceed, if we go through the primary plat process and we have 237 homes, or we have 207 homes, those homeowners will be LaPorte County residents. And I suggest they'll be accepted into the community, the people behind me, in 20 years, in 10 years, in 5 years. Just as though the people who are sitting there today were accepted when they moved into their communities. There was a suggestion that our plans were vague. I've been doing this a long time. Concept plans can be as simple as a sketch on a napkin, or they can be lined blueprint drawings. I believe that these are some of the best concept plans at this point in a proceeding that you've probably seen, certainly that I've seen. Mr. Ray and Dunlin Group do a fine job, and they're going to do a fine job when we have, hopefully, your blessing and the county commissioner's approval for the zoning change. They'll do a fine job with the primary plat, and you're going to see all the detail that's needed. And if we don't, your staff is going to tell us so. And we're going to have to get it right. And we're going to have to get it right before you, the Plan Commission, is going to be asked to vote on the approval of that primary plat. But we're months down the road in making sure that that happens. Months once we have the zoning to turn Mr. Ray and his company loose to design the stormwater, to design the road system, to work on the sanitary sewer, the crossings, work with NDOT and get the driveway permits, all of those things. We're a long way away, and this is the first step. Give us the ability to look at your zoning code and know what our standards are. And with that, my client, Mr. Ray, can turn that concept plan into a primary plat. And at the end of the day, we believe it will meet your code, and we'll ask for your approval at that time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the Plan Commission members? Yes, Rita.
I really don't have a question, so I just want to address a couple issues, if I may, Mr. President. We go through this, it seems, every time we have someone before us wanting to bring in a subdivision. So I sympathize and I understand everyone sitting out there that they do not want this in their backyard. That happens every time. I can't tell you that there's been a subdivision that has come in LaPorte County that we haven't had remonstrators saying, I don't want it in my backyard. I have an industrial park in my backyard. Did I choose to live there? Absolutely. Would I still do it tomorrow? Absolutely. Do I think that's where industrial should stay? Yes. Subdivisions, and I know you guys are all just sitting there saying, oh gosh, here we go. Subdivisions are our future. I mean, unfortunately, that's the way it happens. Farming, absolutely, that's our future also. Did I spend a week at the LaPorte County Fair with Akovich's? I sure did. Slinging the horse poop and everything else along with everybody else that was out there. So farming, yes, I get farming. I understand it. I have horses, so I understand that completely. But we have to remember, when these people come before us, as a plan commission, we're only allowed to do so much. The state, the county has put before us the provisions. If these people meet the provisions, we have to make a decision to make a favorable recommendation, or we have a choice to not make a favorable recommendation. If they are in the right and we turn them down, I couldn't tell you how many times we've had lawsuits come to the county, which is costing myself, yourselves, taxpayers' dollars that we have to fight because we turned something down for no good reason. I understand there's a good reason with all you folks here tonight, and I appreciate all of you being here tonight, but I want you to truly understand our hands are tied when it comes to certain things. And the biggest problem I have with what I've heard is everyone that has come out here, they've come to move to the county. They love the county. They love their area. They love the reason they bought that in that subdivision. But now we're saying, but we don't want another subdivision. So that's my biggest problem that I'm hearing tonight, is that the folks here, many of you live in a subdivision. You bought in a subdivision. There are subdivisions surrounding this whole area. The biggest favor I have for this is, my gosh, there's city sewers coming, and that's what we've begged for years and years and years, for us to have these sewers out there. So I just would like you guys to please just understand, there's many subdivisions already surrounding that area out there. So another subdivision, yes, is going to contribute much more traffic, a lot of other things out there. But please just listen to us up here on the board, that we do have things that we have to abide by. And I just have a real issue with the fact that there are subdivisions out there, and now we don't want another. And I do get it. I completely understand it. So thank you for your time.
Any other Plan Commission questions, comments?
Question for the attorney,
Yes.
Mr. Bijou. I know a lot of this still goes to the Plat Commission if this were to get a favorable recommendation and goes past the commissioners. But is there a way that we can ask for in a motion, and if it were passed, that the phases be reordered to change the order of which they start to impinge or flow towards the boundaries between what's currently agriculture, say some of the Paulberg property and the other adjoining fields, and this proposed subdivision?
That'll happen if and when they get to preliminary plat submission.
Okay.
So they gotta come back with a plat design. You can make modifications to plat design then.
Then we can't do it here.
No, because this isn't a design yet.
That's what I thought. Just wanted to be clear.
Yep.
Any other Plan Commission members? Hearing none. It's the pleasure of the commission. Remember, this is a recommending body. We have three choices. We can have a favorable recommendation to the commissioners. We can have unfavorable recommendation to the commissioners. We can have no recommendation to the commissioners.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, you may.
To the attorney. Has this petitioner met every criteria that we need to make a recommendation this evening? Have they met everything with our hands being tied of what is out there?
That's, I want to be rude, but that's your decision. I mean,
Well,
that's
I mean, as we've seen here, and what, I know one of the gentlemen brought up our decision criteria in section 30.07 for us to look at. Reading through these and reading what our blue book has shown us through all these years, the petitioner has met the criteria and these decision criterias on the steps.
Well, I mean, you're bound by this criteria that you
Correct.
have here.
Correct.
That's what you base your decision on. But ultimately, the commission has to decide if they've met this burden.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Ended discussion.
And discussion's
You
over.
guys consider that
Pleasure of the commission.
growth? I don't think so. You can tell me that type of growth in 10 years, took 170 years to get that big, and you said,
Sir, I think what you're asking is exactly what Rita's discussing about. Have we achieved every item in here? And I'm sure the Plan Commission members are looking at the number one option, that a change of zoning will promote for orderly and responsible community growth and development that will not adversely affect the community. I'm sure that's what she's asking. Sir, that's what we have to decide as Plan Commission members, whether all these items are achieved for the rezone request. Again, I'm opening the floor to the Plan Commission. Is there any motion on the petition? Any member would like to forward a motion for the petition?
I'll make a motion for a favorable recommendation.
There's a motion on the floor for a favorable recommendation. Is there a second? There's a motion on the floor for a favorable recommendation. Is there a second? We can't hear Rich. We can't hear you. Hold on. We got you muted. You might be muted, Rich.
I'm not muted.
There you go. You're on.
The second it, so we can move on.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion on the motion? There's a motion on the floor for favorable recommendation. We need to call a roll call vote for the petition.
Tony Hendricks,
Nay.
John Carr,
Yay.
Harold Parker,
Nay.
Adam Karanka,
Nay.
Earl Cunningham,
Nay.
Rita Beatty,
Yes.
Glenn Minnick.
He points to nay. For the record.
Nay.
Thumbs down.
What is that?
That is, the nays have it.
Thank you. Petition is
Nay.
favorable or no, wait a minute. We have a question for attorney.
What was
There was a motion for a favorable recommendation that was not passed.
what was the vote?
For
No,
5-2.
it's 5-2.
5-2.
Say that again, Tony, I didn't hear you.
There was a denied motion for favorable recommendation. What do we do?
Nothing, I'll enter findings saying that there's an unfavorable recommendation and certify that to the commissioners.
Thank you everyone for coming this evening.
Thank you all.
We'll give you a couple minutes, please, quietly.
Thank you for your time and consideration. Much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Did I get to vote?
We have to move on, please. Petition number 2 is Attorney Novak on the.
I gotta go to Indy.
I'm here. Yes.
It's not wanted. Petitioner number 2, Eric DeRucky, Anthony Novak, Anubi Lewis, Kaminsky, and Jones. Petitions the Plan Commission to vacate a public way adjacent to 5383 East Saginaw Trail, Rolling Prairie, zoned R1B. Is the notice sufficient?
Notice is adequate.
You are on the floor, Mr. Novak.
Members of the commission, Mr. Hendricks, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
This will be a little easier and quicker. I have a petition to vacate here in front of you guys tonight with consents of all of the adjoining landowners, including the owner that abuts the alleyway that's going to be vacated. So my petition really just kind of lays it out in order, but quite simply, the petitioner, the owner here is Eric DeRucky. He owns property at 5383 East Saginaw Trail in Rolling Prairie. Exhibit 1 outlines his property in blue. Exhibit 2 is the original plat, which I won't make you guys strain your eyes, but his property is shown on the plat on Exhibit 2. Just north of the lots that he owns at 5383 is a platted but unimproved alleyway. Exhibit 3 is a survey of his property. And you'll see on the north portion, the rectangular piece that's marked parcel B. It's plus or minus 0.09 acres. That's the portion of the alleyway that he's seeking to be vacated. And that's particularly described on that exhibit. So there's a specific legal description that he's seeking to vacate. As I indicated, the adjoining landowners to that portion of the alleyway, there's 3. There's Tim and Karen Shields. There's the Mary P. Hines Trust. And then there's Donald and Noreen Morin. Each of them have consented to this petition. And specifically, the Shields, who by law would get 1/2 of the alley, have actually consented to the entirety of the alley going to Mr. DeRicky. At the time I filed this application back at the beginning of this month, we didn't have those consents. We did ultimately receive them, and we emailed them over to Ashley, Mike, and Doug today. So we would ask that that a favorable recommendation to the commissioners be given. I did talk to Doug today, and he indicated that there may have been a change in law where maybe you as a body can actually adopt an ordinance vacating it. Regardless, whether it be you adopting it or being a favorable recommendation, we are seeking that. We just want to make sure that title is clean for this owner down the road, and I'm certainly willing to answer any questions you may have.
Anthony and I can clear that issue up, but it's not going to affect your vote tonight.
Are there any, thank you, any remonstrators for or against the petition to vacate? Yes, come to the podium, state your name, address.
Yes, good evening. My name's Louis Ori. My wife and I own a home and a cottage. The address of the home is 5305 East Saginaw Trail, and the cottage is 5304 East Iroquois, and I believe this is Iroquois, correct? The street that's being vacated. And I guess, well, we're not adjoining landowners, so we weren't given notification, but our homeowners association was given notification, and that's how I found out about this. And the reason I came tonight, I didn't know the extent of the vacancy of that road, but I guess my concern is our cottage is the property that's closest to East Iroquois, and it is not developed right now. The road ends to the west of us, and I guess my concern is, would this affect, our hope is someday that we're going to get sewers in Saucony Lake, in that area, and most likely for my cottage, which was off of East Iroquois, it would have to come through that road, which is, like I say, it's paved to a certain point and it stops just west of our property. So I'm just wanting to express my concern that, you know, if someday there were sewers, that, you know, we still would have the capability of running a sewer line to our cottage in the future, should that come to pass. So again, I don't know the extent of the vacancy and what that means as far as utilities, but I just wanted to come tonight and just mention that.
We can vacate roadways, but we can't vacate utility easements.
Okay.
So, and I'm not, I can't have a crystal ball, but I guess if they did sewers, they would come down Saucony Trail and up Winnebago and around Iroquois. They wouldn't run a sewer down a vacated Iroquois.
Okay. Yeah. The home is closest to Iroquois, and it's probably, well, there's 200-foot lots there, so it'd be a long stretch of pipe to have to bring the Saginaw Trail, and that's why I was hoping to.
Yeah.
Sewer's coming, though.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping.
They would probably feed you from Winnebago.
Okay.
I see your lot there.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
All right. Thank you.
Any discussion from the Planning Commission?
Yeah, Tony,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, we're making progress. I've been looking this over on Beacon. I had Mike Ojeski. I also talked with Mr. Poland about it. First question I would have is, does the petitioner here still have his shed built on county property? That was pretty obvious.
Yes.
It is still built on county property.
Yes.
That's right.
I thought that was supposed to be taken care of. That he's on county property, and then it was supposed to be moved.
Did he move it?
No, it is.
Looks like it's,
I don't believe it's moved. In fact, the discovery of it being on county property came from our office when he showed up to get a permit for something else. At that time, the staff in the office instructed him, "Hey, you have a structure on an undeveloped roadway, county-owned property. You either need to remove it or file a petition to vacate it."
So I believe it's still there. Maybe Mr. Novak knows.
Yeah, this is not a new thing. This has happened out in Saucony Lake before. To address the question of the sewer line, you probably have read the news that the sewer line going to Saguenay Lake is the #1 priority with the a grant, repayable grant from the state. It's a big deal. They are going to have sewer. So I was looking. Well, first of all, when I saw that the gentleman had a structure on county property, which we've made other people move them. That's not a problem. But like the other gentleman said, Iroquois runs past a couple houses and then stops. Now, if we wanted to, there's a lot of undeveloped land on the north side of that county property. If somebody wanted to build a home there and you shut it off, it'd be right in the middle of where the guy wants to vacate. It'd be right in the middle of that roadway. You wouldn't be able to run the road all the way down out the other side, which goes down towards the lake. So I don't know that there's a plan right now to continue Iroquois down through there, but I can tell you that if you vacate a spot in the middle of it, there sure wouldn't be. But I'm, Tony, you remember, it was just probably, Mike, I know you remember, 2 years ago, we had a guy that built a shed like that on county property. And we went out and looked at it. The inspector came out and looked at it, and we made him move it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I certainly understand that, Commissioner Mrzinski, but as Mr. Poland indicated, this isn't a situation where, he was doing maliciously. When he went in and discovered this, that's when he ultimately filed this petition. It actually goes back a little bit more historically, too. He got this property back in 2008, and I'm looking to the side because I'm looking at some notes. He indicates in 2014, he saw that there was this unimproved alleyway there, spoke with the county highway superintendent at that time, and they said, hey, we're never going to put a roadway in there, so don't worry about it. In 2014, though, he went to the building department, and they suggested he file a petition to vacate. He took an old form that they had, which was vacating an entire roadway, and he just filed it. And that was trying to vacate the entirety of that alleyway. When there was a bunch of remonstrators who didn't want to do that, he dismissed it. And then it was ultimately when he came back to Mr. Poland's office, I think to get a permit on something else, that he discovered it was still an issue, and therefore that's why he's here. I don't know what the future holds out there, but I know currently no plans to develop that. I don't see that it would hinder the growth or orderly development of the area.
Tony, that's not the first time that the now retired highway superintendent told people that what they're going to do or what they're not going to do, which of course he has absolutely zero authority on. That would be the Plan Commission and the commissioners. But the fact remains that Iroquois runs east to west there out to the lake, and should it want to be developed and you've got a big chunk taken right out of the middle of it, that stops it right there. So,
yes.
And building on county property, of course, that's not good either.
Yes. Any other plan commission? I have one question whether this goes or doesn't. If it's vacated, half goes to the north owner and half goes to the south owner. So that we don't, the plan commission nor the commissioners would have any discussion in that half for half. That's up to the two owners to decide if the north owner wants to sell them their half. And that's a different deed, title company, close it. It's not up to really anyone's purview. We just we either vacate or we don't.
Well, and if I could clarify on that, we've done. I've been in front of you guys last year, in fact, where I had a consent. You guys approved it, and the ordinance vacated the entirety of the roadway to one owner. So it can be done. It does not have to be a two-part step.
Okay. Any other plan commission members?
So is there a possibility they need that for sewer? Do we need to listen to Rich on that or not?
I think that's a crystal ball.
Well, not if you sell it. It ain't no crystal
If
ball.
if you vacate, you're not coming through there ever.
Right.
If
How
we,
much that increases the workload for that sewer, I don't know.
I mean, I'm looking at Beacon, and yes, the road goes through, but the northwest piece is owned by Saguenay Lake, and it looks like it's forested wetland. And I would presume no one would like to cut through a part of Iroquois that's forested wetland. The most protected species in.
Down the road, sewer line.
Yeah, the sewer line. They would definitely feed the front of all those houses. I would highly doubt they'd feed all the way across Iroquois, but that's a crystal ball I think no one has. Because sewer lines are not like water lines. We don't need to connect them. They just dead end.
Yeah, but they still gotta have grade and everything.
And they have to have grade.
Pump something.
And if you're looking at the grade, I presume the wetland would mean it's low.
Mr. Novak,
Low, right?
Mr. President, may I ask Mr. Novak a question?
Yes.
Mr. Novak, is your client willing to give a easement to this parcel if we vacate it for sewer?
I can't give you that definitive answer, but that's something that I can certainly ask. Absolutely.
I'd make a motion that we table this till next month then.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor to table this petition until next month, say aye. Oh, wait,
Aye.
Sorry, we have to do a roll call vote.
Oh, yeah.
Roll call.
Tony Hendricks,
Aye.
John Carr,
Aye.
Harold Parker,
Aye.
Adam Karanka,
Aye.
Earl Cunningham,
Aye.
Rita Beatty, Glenn Minnick,
I think we lost him.
We lost him.
okay, Rich Mrzinski.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. Petition.
And if I could, I know you guys tabled me, but I want to make sure I understand the homework here. There was really no discussion on what we need to do. Are we just simply, is there going to be an easement that could be granted? Do we need to work with the county engineer? I guess I'd like some direction if so.
The reason I asked for this delay is for you to consult with your client, because without the potential for an easement, it's my belief that you're going to get an unfavorable vote this evening. If you were to give a easement, then I think you have a chance of getting 5 votes. That's basically why I'm asking for a delay.
I'm not an attorney, but I think they're looking for an agreement or a codicil saying if there's a sewer line, they won't be building foundations across this. If not, and it never comes to fruition, I don't know how we do that.
That's what I'm just saying, is an easement for a sewer line, should a sewer line be necessitated there.
Understood. And if I could ask a question to Doug, I presume to avoid trying to execute some sort of agreement with some other party, that would just be a condition of the recommendation?
Yeah. We
Okay.
just make it a condition. But I think they want to know if your client agrees with it.
Okay, understood. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Petition number 3, Carol Grott, represented by James Kaminsky, Anthony Novak, Newby Lewis, Kaminsky, and Jones. Petitions the Plan Commission to vacate unapproved public roadway located at 4304 North, 400 East Rolling Prairie.
Notice adequate.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. Anthony Novak from Newby Lewis, Kaminsky, and Jones. Another petition to vacate here. This one, the owner is Carol A. Grott. She owns property at 4304 400 East Rolling Prairie. Her property is shown on Exhibit 1. She owns lots 1 through 15 in Wamba and Cass Edition of the town of Portland. The portion that she's trying to vacate is known as Rose Street, and that's outlined in green on Exhibit 2. There's also a portion of Rose Street in Exhibit 2 highlighted in purple. That portion was vacated by the VFW Rolling Prairie Memorial Post, a couple decades ago. So she's ultimately seeking to have the rest of Rose Street going out to 400 vacated. There were 3 adjoining landowners that she notified. And the landowner directly across the street from what would be vacated, across the alleyway, the churches have consented to this petition. So we would ask for either favorable recommendation or approval of the vacation.
Thank you. Any remonstrators for or against the petition? Seeing no one rise. Any remonstrators for or against the petition on Zoom? Seeing no one coming forward. Any discussion from the Plan Commission?
I have a question. No, that one's already taken care
I
of.
think we should open the floor to Commissioner Brzezinski because this is the VFW post.
I've only been a member there. I've only been a member for 32 years, Tony. I don't know if I can speak for them, but I can tell you that we don't have a problem with that. It goes back in the V. It does border the VFW property, but it doesn't infringe on our property in any way, shape, or form. Personally, I don't have a problem with it at all.
Yes, we understand you can't speak for VFW, but yes, your input is appreciated. Anyone else?
I'll make a motion for a favorable recommendation.
Motion for a favorable recommendation for the vacation of the alleyway. Roll call vote, please.
Tony Hendricks,
Aye.
John Carr,
Aye.
Harold Parker,
Aye.
Adam Karanka,
Aye.
Earl Cunningham,
Aye.
Rita Beatty,
Aye.
Glenn Minnick is gone, Rich Brzezinski.
Aye.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With the time frame, old business, anything on old business? Looking at Mike, none.
Motion to adjourn.
Keep it quick. New business?
Earl? Council this morning, we have anything we want to bring up today, or are we saving it?
You want to do it this evening at 7:30?
It's your call. You're the council liaison, I'll leave it to you. I
Rephrase the way you would like for me to present.
This morning at budget hearings, the council had requested that the Plan Commission discuss the issuance of building permits for Meadowview and other subdivision lots that the county has knowledge of subterranean water issues. I have discussed this with legal counsel, and we've gone over it, but like I said, at this morning at budget hearings, it was brought up, and they specifically wanted it discussed at Plan Commission.
Can you define what you're talking about on this water issue?
Lots of homes and subdivisions have people building in high water tables, whether they're seeing sump pumps or not. Flooded basements, whether they're seeing water or not, and this, we go years and years back on this. So I would hope we'd put this on our agenda for next meeting, and people bring any information because there are so many tentacles to this one.
Well, it's almost a question that's too broad to answer. Are we talking about new subdivisions or existing subdivisions? If they're existing subdivisions, no, the Plan Commission doesn't have authority to do anything. This is a statutory animal. If we're talking about new subdivisions, that would go with our engineering requirements.
Okay, I have a question on that, Mr. BG. If we go to Meadowview right now to an empty lot, and a home on both sides of it has water issues, are we gonna let them put a basement in today? If they came in for a building permit today, would we let them put in a basement?
I don't have an answer to that question.
And that's what we need, that's why we need to discuss it, because that's the dilemma he has. Right now, if we've given permission to lot 1 and lot 3, they have basements and they're flooding. And somebody buys lot 2 and they want to put in a basement, are we gonna let them continue to make the problem worse for the county?
Well, and I agree, it's something to discuss, because does the county have the right to restrict what somebody's gonna build?
Correct.
Because now you're affecting the value of that lot.
It could be a taking under the Constitution.
Correct.
Right. Well, and the question is, if we give them the permission to build and they build, they turn around and want us to fix their water problem because we gave them the permit. So we're not going to solve it tonight.
Right.
I think it should be on our agenda for discussion at a future meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm satisfied with this just being brought up because they brought this up specifically and instructed, they discussed this with Earl.
Make a motion that we add it to our next agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned.